So it is now, I guess, officially springtime. So they're hearing birds in the background. It's because birds are loud and obnoxious.
It's because birds are birds.
Well, speaking of birds, I guess, uh, the Philadelphia Eagles made a trade with the Miami Dolphins, uh, which also included the San Francisco 49ers. So basically, how it worked was the Dolphins had the number 3 pick. They gave it to the 49ers for the number 12 pick, but then the Dolphins then traded that number 12 pick to move to the number 6 pick that the Eagles had.
Have I ever told you that the NFL draft is confusing? Yeah, like,
Yeah.
like how you're able to trade all these picks and it's perfectly fine, even though a lot of the time it screws over your franchise later in life, i.e., the Houston Texans at the moment.
Yeah.
Because that number 3, I believe that number 3 pick was originally the Houston Texans pick.
Yeah. So there's lots of crazy things. So Trevor Lawrence is the consensus number 1 pick. The Jaguars are going to take him. They're in need of a quarterback because Blake Bortles and whoever else they've had the last however long they've been in existence hasn't been the answer. Unless you want to bring back Blaine Gabbert. I'm kidding.
No, yeah, that didn't work out well for them.
So the Jaguars are set. They're picking Lawrence at number 1 unless if there's some crazy, ridiculous trade that comes out of the blue before the end of April when the draft is. Miami has Tua Tagovailoa. I'm just going to say Tua because it's easier. I'm dubbing him as one of those first name players. So they have Tua, and it looked like he was going to be the starter after they flipped him. They got rid of Ryan Fitzpatrick. They kept Ryan Fitzpatrick, but they just sort of gave Tua sort of the ball to run, and then they would take him out at the end of the game and have Fitzpatrick as the closer. But looks like Miami is going to keep going with Tua by moving back to the 6th pick because some of the top quarterbacks looking to take, obviously Trevor Lawrence at 1. There's also Justin Wilson and Justin Fields.
I was going to say, isn't Justin Wilson a relief pitcher?
And isn't he an injured one too?
Yeah, we'll probably get to that later.
So Justin Fields and whatever his name is, the last name is Wilson. I don't know why I'm blanking on his first name.
Zach?
Zach Wilson, who had a pretty good, I'm going to say a pro day. So it looks like the Jets might take Zach Wilson because they haven't specifically made any moves yet. I think the Jets should take Jamar Chase and get a wide receiver and then work for something next year, but I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see.
The belief is that they'll go for a quarterback, either Wilson or Justin Fields of Ohio State.
Yeah, I don't think Justin Fields is the answer. I think he's a product of that Ohio State system. But to get back to this trade, the 49ers kept saying they're not going to trade Garoppolo, not going to trade Jimmy G, they're not going to do it, not going to do it. And now they jump from the number 12 to the number 3, where there's talks that it might very well just go Lawrence, Wilson, and then maybe Fields. This is looking like the 49ers are looking for a quarterback and they're going to trade Jimmy G. So that's a thing. The Eagles moving back to the number 12, but then back to the number 6. If you have those 3 guys there, you still have, like I said, Jamar Chase is there. Smith, who won the Heisman, he's still on that board. So that's 2 out of 3 picks there. So if the other teams in that draft order, who's picking 4 and 5, don't pick up one of those guys, the Eagles are going to pick up one of those other wide receivers. There's also a good couple tight ends going down as well. But the haul that is happening So going to Miami, they're getting the number 6 and the number 156 pick for this year from the Eagles. For next year, they're getting a first rounder and a third rounder from the 49ers. And then in 2023, they're getting a first rounder from the 49ers. 49ers are only getting the number 3 pick from the Dolphins this year. And the Eagles are getting the number 12 via the 49ers. 123rd pick from the Dolphins this year, and a first rounder from the Dolphins for next year. So Miami, depending on really what the Jets do, Miami might just get like one of the biggest steals in this draft with all these ridiculous picks. And as a Jets fan, it hurts me to see the Dolphins doing this well, but it's like kind of hard not to root for this kind of robbery.
No, that especially considering that the Dolphins got in this enviable position from another robbery itself, fleecing the because they 2020 they still have a 2022 first round pick, which I believe was also from the Texans when they fleeced that team. If you believe certain media channels, they benefited from the curse of Houston. But the Dolphins are a very exciting team last year. They were one of along with the Cardinals. They were one of the teams that you were sad didn't just missed the cutoff for being in the postseason. But they had a very exciting roster that they still have faith in Tua, or as I said, they could swing for a veteran quarterback to come in and do it. Although, as we've noted in past weeks, that demand is far outweighing supply at the moment. On that front, so I think they're probably going to stay put and continue building around.
So I think the Dolphins. So the 4 players that they can possibly take, as I said, Jamar Chase, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, and Florida's Kyle Pitts, all look to be still on the board once they get to them, and if for some reason Zach Wilson's still on the board and gets to number 6, maybe they take him. But the 49ers are most likely going to take a quarterback at this point because it's now the 3rd time this number 3 pick has been traded over the past 5 drafts. And the last 4 times a team has traded up to move to the number 3, it selected a quarterback. So that looks like the trend, especially with Garoppolo missing 23 of 48 regular season starts because of knee and ankle injuries. So he's not durable. He's got the bug going on, while the siren for my town seems to be going on. Yeah. So I think that's an alert saying I am right.
That's I'm. Yeah. But it seems like this year it's deep in. It's deep in quarterbacks for the start. That doesn't mean that the first round,
first round doesn't mean you're gonna hit a home run every time. Wrong sport. But because we've seen guys like Russell Wilson or Tom Brady go in later rounds, and they have perfectly fine careers, Super Bowl championships.
And on the other hand, number 3 pick Sam Darnold.
Yep. We've had, number 6 pick, Mark Sanchez several years ago, or whatever he was, a 4 pick, 5 pick.
Hey, he had that one good season, and then he had a flame. Yeah, butt fumble. I forgot if it was him or Tebow.
Quarterbacks that do well moving late. We got Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know if I've ever specifically noticed it, but this is the first time I'm seeing this, that a team is bringing back everybody on their starting roster. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have agreed to a 1-year deal that could make it as much as $4 million with Leonard Fournette who came out is now Lombardi Lenny after he had a breakout back end of the year. After Ronald Jones had some injuries towards the end of the year, and he found his way, finishing with 448 total yards in the postseason, and several touchdowns and a good 27-yard run touchdown in the Super Bowl. So the Buccaneers are bringing back all 22 starters, 11 offense, 11 defense, which is insane.
That's rare in any sport, really.
Yeah.
You never...
to even, keep, 90% of that team intact is really hard.
Yeah, usually you're like, oh, I would like to add so-and-so. I'd like to add a power back. I'd like to add someone who controls the court better. Or you're a team that, especially in football or basketball, I'm in cap hell and I can't sign these people back.
Yep.
So
yep. Or you have a really good postseason run, win World Series MVP in 2009, and then the Yankees decide not to re-sign the World Series MVP Hideki Matsui and let him walk. Sorry, was I being salty?
Just a little. I mean, I mean, they did the same thing to poor Johnny Damon, who helped win them Game 3.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So you don't see something like this. So I'm intrigued to see how Tampa Bay is going to do this upcoming season. I'm intrigued at Miami at what they're going to be doing. I'm curious as to what the Jets are going to be doing. The 49ers. There's a lot of interesting factors.
Will the Jets win 3 games this year? Place your bets now.
I wish they didn't win any games last year to just get Trevor Lawrence, and I wouldn't have to deal with this.
They'll probably win 4 games at least. That's my over-under.
So, I guess. I guess to sort of wrap up the football news, we're up to now 16 lawsuits for Deshaun Watson.
16.
So people are still scratching their head, all right, is this guy really just a sleaze bag, or is there something not right going on here? One of the reports is, I think it was the 14th report, was reported earlier before anything was broken out. So it was the 14th lawsuit, but it was reported before. It just wasn't an official lawsuit. That this girl had similar experience that these other girls are talking about, but apparently told her mother and her friend shortly after. So there's supposedly 2 alibis, but I'm still at a loss of words at trying to figure all this out. There's still a lot of unsureness. Do you have any thoughts on this weird situation?
It's
obviously serious, but there's a lot of missing puzzle pieces here.
It makes you wonder if the 49ers trade was done specifically with this in mind, that they were looking at Watson, and then all of a sudden that they all these allegations come, and they're like, we don't want to deal with this. Let's just take a youngster out of Ohio State or something and run with him as our quarterback instead of Watson. But this is 16 people. It's Jesus, that you're either really, really sleazy or someone's targeting you. And at this point, I tend to leave.
Someone's getting fired.
Yeah, whether it's Watson
someone's getting fired and blacklisted.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, you have to take time to sift through this. You can't just say one way or the other. Yeah, he did it, or this is all an attack on him. That you have to sit down and look at each of these. Some of them appear pretty graphic. Some of them appear to have more than a kernel of truth to them. So it's at the end, it seems like, as I said, it seems that Houston's cursed. They sold their soul for a World Series, and they didn't even get a clean one for it.
Yeah, it's just not looking good.
The question will be if he faces criminal charges. That would put him in rarefied air with the likes of Aaron Hernandez and what's his name on the Pirates? I think Felipe Vasquez.
Yeah,
It was the one that it was the closer that turned into a child predator.
Yeah, this is just like ridiculous. Something's gonna happen. This isn't good for the Texans organization anyway, because they've been under some hot water. So this is just gonna be really bad.
You want to know? You want to know?
Like no matter even if he is in the wrong, Deshaun Watson, the Texans are gonna something's gonna come out of here. Like somebody had to know something like this was going on, and they were covering it up, and so something's gonna go wrong, and there's gonna be some sort of ridiculous fine to the Texans somehow, some way, because this is just completely outlandish.
You want to know something? I mentioned Vasquez, and guess what? He's in the news today.
Oh, what did he do?
His defense attorney is putting the claim that the child that he was that's accused, the person accusing him of being a sexual predator of, that was almost an adult. Almost does not count in the court of law.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to say almost and use it on the cosmic scale of the entire universe, I guess we're all almost 1,000 years old.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, that doesn't doesn't fly.
No, get out of here. Stay in jail.
It's like that little girl who was talking about the climate change or whatever, and people are like, "Oh, well, she's old enough to talk about climate." Like, no. like somebody failed philosophy class and using the wrong arguments. That's no.
She can
but
talk,
if you want to
talk about the problems of it, but you can't talk about the exact science of it. That's someone who is in their field.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there for this.
No, but if you want to keep talking about scandals, in the NHL we had referee Tim Peel will not work another game in the NHL after saying he wanted to give the Nashville Predators a penalty when they played the Detroit Red Wings Tuesday night.
No.
For whatever reason, he wanted to say that on the mic, I guess, under his breath as they were leaving commercial. I don't know. I mean, luckily nobody scored, I guess, and it was a bad tripping call, which I guess it kind of looked like it was, but it wasn't, and I don't know, but I guess NHL refs, sometimes they miss a call and they want to do a makeup call for other things, but just to say I just want to get this penalty out of the way is ridiculous. I mean, he's been reffing on ice for the NHL since October of '99, and he's reffed over 1,300 games. So I think he was supposed to retire at the end of this year. So
congratulations, early retirement.
I guess he got out early, and maybe he's not going to get his pension now. So all those years for absolutely nothing because you couldn't keep your mouth shut for another couple months.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just NHL where you see this. Every sport has their bad apples.
Yeah, we had the NBA ref thing several years back, but this is come on, everyone's mic'd up, everyone can hear you. Keep those things to yourself.
And then
if you want to have a bad game and be Joe West or Angel Hernandez.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Then there's Angel Hernandez who claims that baseball is discriminating against him, while every single player in baseball says he is the worst umpire in baseball.
No, I know you can't specifically say that, but I can. He's the worst baseball umpire in baseball.
Yeah, I can say that. Other people say it.
Yes, you can say that, but
I'm not an expert in the strike zone. I will not say that, and I have plus other reasons, but
I'm a TV watcher, so obviously I know everything. So I will say he is the worst umpire.
Yeah. But yeah, speaking of NHL, one of the biggest problems that is coming up right now, it's almost the deadline, and as you know, Canada still not like letting people cross the border for what
Sounds like the U.S. and Mexico. Like, what the hell?
I think you're moving a little more through that border as of late. But now you're also the NHL players and maybe further down the line the baseball players could be easier to move down the line. Over the last few days, Canada has waived its normal 14-day quarantine period, quote, under national interest grounds, end quote. Now players moving across the border only need to quarantine for just 7 days. Which
still a lot of time.
Yeah, it's still a lot of time.
Sports league. I mean, that's especially with like how tight these division races are. That's really hard to do.
Yeah,
you're missing 2-3 games. That could really be the difference.
Yeah, but
I mean, I understand why, but
I think this kind of really got the ground going with stuff. As I said, Eric Stahl was traded out of the spiral of death that is the Buffalo Sabres and to the Canadiens.
16 in a row they've lost.
Yeah. Yeah, and with the trade deadline coming up in a bit, that when is that trade deadline? No, next month it'll be. But yeah, 2 weeks was untenable, but 7 days you miss only 2-3 games.
Yeah, 4 at most if you're like really wedged in the schedule. But like that's still, like I said, that's a really tight window. I mean, you've got the Capitals and the Islanders in the East with the same record. The Lightning and Hurricane are just separated by 3 points there. In the North, you've got the Leafs, Jets, and Oilers all separated by 2 points. And then the Knights, Avalanche, and Wild in the West are all separated by 2 points.
Yeah. But meanwhile, the Maple Leafs and the Jets, who are in the market for rentals, before this they were having a hard time telling a guy, hey, waive your no trade clause and come for us, but you got to sit in a hotel room for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Now it's possible, and as I said, the Sabres certainly said, all right, good, we can finally trade guys to teams that actually care about development.
Yeah.
More importantly, down the line, this likely means that in the next couple of weeks, that the Blue Jays will still be homeless, because if you remember, the Blue Jays, only their first 2 series have been booked in Dunedin, or Dunedin, however you pronounce that, Florida spring training park. So after those 2 series, as I'm looking up who and when they are, they're homeless still. That they don't have a ballpark set for their next series, a homestand after that. So I guess the expectation was that they would review the border situation with the Canadian government and maybe they'd approve something. But this does not give me confidence that they will be playing anywhere close to maple syrup land in 2021, or at least through the first couple of months. What say you on that?
Yeah, I don't know where they're going to be headed. This just seems like bad management.
So the Blue Jays, their first homestand starts on the 8th with a 4-game set in the Angels and a 3-game against the Yankees. Then they have a long road trip, then before having 2 games against the Nationals on the 27th, then a weekend series with the Braves, then another long West Coast road trip. Their next homestand would start May 14th. And at the moment, there is no home ballpark for them. Not sure. They could probably stay in Dunedin, but at some point in the summer, that ballpark has to hold the Florida State League. So eventually, they're going to have to find somewhere else so that their minor league teams can get some work in. That I know the minor league season's delayed again, is delayed this year, but eventually it has to play. But speaking of baseball, the other big thing is it's opening day coming up, and we're less than a week away from opening day, which is the true start of spring. I don't care. I don't care what some groundhog or an artificial change in the time zones say. Spring starts when opening day begins.
Yep.
We have a lot of our matchups out for Game 1. It's going to be for the Yankees, who are hosting the Blue Jays. Hungjin Ryu versus Garrett Cole, as if anyone was surprised.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the matchup I'm most interested in for opening.
Yeah, we got, was it DeGrom and Scherzer?
Yeah, Jacob DeGrom and Max Scherzer.
Oof.
That's going to
be fun.
Yeah, that is going to be a matchup in DC. Let's see, just looking at others, there's still a couple teams that are not set. Unsurprisingly, they are teams that don't really have a clear-cut picture to start. That is the Pirates, the Rockies, the Diamondbacks, and it's just those three. I thought there was a fourth one. But yeah, other interesting matchups. The Twins and Brewers. Kenta Maeda versus the very underrated Brandon Woodruff. I didn't know until I was preparing my pre-draft list that he's actually a very good strikeout machine and is turning quietly into one of the top pitchers in baseball. Overshadowed a bit by the fact that Milwaukee doesn't really have any household names in their starting staff. Reds and Cardinals, it's Luis Castillo and Jack Flaherty. Rays and Marlins, Tyler Glasnow and Sandy Alcantara. And the White Sox and Angels, Lucas Giolito against Dylan Bundy. So not the Shohei Ohtani, which is probably good for their lineup considering how many home runs he's been hitting in spring training. Get as much from as bad as you can.
Yeah, ride the hot hand. One of the names, actually, I guess it sort of ties in two stories. Is that one? Baltimore signed Matt Harvey.
Oh yeah.
Knight. But also that the Red Sox opening day starter is Nathan Eovaldi. I would have never guessed him to be an opening day starter. I don't know if this shows you that Boston's really gone this far down in their pitching staff. Since their Pedro Martinez days, but
well, it's also partly out of circumstance that Chris Sale still won't be back for a month or two, and a week before opening day, Eduardo Rodriguez has a dead arm, so that kind of left Eovaldi as the de facto opening day starter. Because have you seen the rest of that pitching? It has Martin Perez on it. I would not have thought 3 years ago Martin Perez would have been on the Red Sox staff.
This just in, the Houston Astros have traded their trash can to the Boston Red Sox for their starting rotation.
Oh, here's some actual news. If you remember, the New York Yankees had Jay Bruce in camp, and the thought was that either Jay Bruce would make the roster or Mike Tauchman would make the roster, and either Bruce would opt out and sign elsewhere, or they would designate Mike Tauchman for assignment because he was out of options.
Mm.
Apparently, they're keeping both on the roster. That they're not putting Tauchman on waivers, and Jay Bruce has made the Yankees opening day roster as the backup corner outfield first baseman. So
who's he replacing?
They're
Pitcher?
They said that Boone wants 13 and 13. If I had to guess, let's see. So that would be 2. Probably the third non-catching spot goes to Tyler Wade. And yeah, who does he replace? I mean this basically means that Mike Ford is not making the roster for sure. But after that, you already had an extra outfielder in Brett Gardner. So maybe a trade is in the works for Tauchman. Yeah. Because they said that while they don't plan on exposing Tauchman to waivers, they could still work a trade to get out. So,
or do they work a blockbuster for Luke Voight? I don't.
No, do not trade. Do not trade Voight, especially this late. You do not. He is too good to just go away because I have a log jam in the backup position. Let's trade our starter.
Yeah. Serious question. So we know Garrett Cole is starting for the Yankees, unless if some bolt of lightning and a grizzly bear decide to hunt down Garrett Cole. Who's the starting catcher? Do we have the
it's still,
new in shape Gary Sanchez, or does he get to pitch to Kyle Higashioka?
Higashioka, learn your Japanese.
I know Matsui.
Yeah, no, it's always the same cadence. Higashioka. Sound.
Higashioka.
Yeah, but no, they've already announced that opening day it will be Gary Sanchez throwing to Garrett Cole. They made that announcement I think a week ago. Okay. I'd like to say.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think that Gary Sanchez, it's a make or break year of him, of course, but because of that, I think he's going to be very underrated because everyone's going to be saying that he's washed up. His defense doesn't go up to par with how catching is at the moment. If they ever get the automatic strike zone in, that would probably help him a bit.
Because he still has a cannon for it.
Yeah, he has a great arm. It's just receiving that's the problem for him, and the fact that his back completely thing. I think the main problem with him, and you see this with a ton of people in the league last year, is that they were done in by the abrupt start and the abrupt start. That you saw a lot of normal people in the league get pummeled around. You saw that with Nolan Arenado. You saw that with the entire Chicago Cubs roster.
You saw Christian Yelich.
Yeah, you saw it with a ton of names that are.
Even Trout didn't have a Trout-esque season.
Yeah. What did he have at the end of?
Yeah, it was really quiet.
Yeah, but it was definitely not a Trout-esque season. But yeah, you saw a lot of people who did not perform as they.
Yeah, he hit 281 last year.
Oh, he only hit 281
only.
with 46 RBIs in 60
and
17
games. Home runs.
And 17 home runs, and that's a down year.
Yeah. What does that tell you for the best player in baseball?
Yeah. When his worst season is 289, and he's still
we
not
complained
third.
when he won MVP with a 287 average.
Yeah, he could have. If it wasn't for other people
Cabrera
in the league,
and some other thing.
Yeah, but
I mean, if you want to talk about really good players having bad seasons, I mean, you can talk about Trevor Bauer and him regressing from his ridiculous ERA last year, because his spin rate jumped by 400 rotations.
Yeah.
So MLB is supposed to be cracking down on using sticky stuff and whatnot. It looks like they're going to be like policing the ball and everything else.
They're also
Is this good or bad for the sport? I think it's bad.
I mean, it's once again like with steroids that MLB is biting the hand that fed it, in my opinion. Remember with steroids that steroids, everyone forgets that they came on right after the '94 strike. That the home run chase between McGuire and Sosa basically brought baseball right out of the slump it had been in, because it killed a lot of fans to baseball by canceling the World Series. And then the Mitchell report came out, and they cracked down on all those players. Similarly, the sabermetrics has really brought the spin rate into focus, and that's really been where spin rate has come into view. Now, are they saying that you can't use a sticky substance? No, not exactly. Considering they've said that they are going to be developing an approved substance to use that pitchers will be able to use. Will it be ready for this season? Most likely not, because it takes time to develop this stuff. But it seems like this is something that they should have said a lot earlier. We've known about this for a couple months now, thanks to the former Angels clubhouse person. That if they were going to go with this, they should have said this before spring training, not a week before the season starts.
Yeah, I think this is not good considering we're coming up to that contract year in baseball. I think this is the wrong year to implement this and make some pitchers angry. Maybe even some batters, if pitchers aren't able to hold on to the ball a little bit as well as they want to. And now their timing's a little bit, or the release timing is off a little bit. Now batters are getting hit more. So are we going to see more brawls?
I think it's kind of to balance the other big thing which they're doing, is that they are introducing a slightly deader ball to baseball. So I think it's they're using this to say, hey pitchers, we're cracking down on you too, which it's a little weird on me. Granted, at the same time, if it's something that is not allowed in the sport from the beginning, they shouldn't be using it anyway. If you remember you see it all the time that pitchers try to get an illicit advantage. Gaylord.
Hey, keep Michael Pineda out of this.
I was gonna say Gaylord Perry. That he admitted his Hall of Fame career was built on scuffing and scratching the ball. That he has openly said that.
But this has been a thing, as you say, like, people have made Hall of Fame careers. This has been going on since the 1900s, maybe even the late 1800s.
Yeah, the spitball,
This isn't anything. This is one of those unwritten things in the game where, like, if you're being blatant obvious like Michael Pineda about this, where you've got a giant sunscreen blab of pine tar on your wrist and all over your face, like, that's a no.
Yeah.
But like if you're into like tasting your own fingers because you like the way the salt on the sweat on specifically your pitching fingers tastes, I have no problem with that. It's a little unhygienic, but
I would not like touching that ball as an infielder, but
but it's part of the game. I think it adds some more control to where the pitchers can throw the ball. I think it makes for better baseball. I just think, though, or at least I hope, with the deadening of the ball and some of the batters not hitting the ball as much, or the pitchers not being able to maybe throw the ball as hard or have crazy, ridiculous curvatures to their ball paths. Maybe these batters will have maybe more time and less power to slap the ball the other way on an infield shift if they're capable of bunting. or finding that gap in the outfield instead of just trying to make it that 3 true outcome of home run, walk, or strikeout. Because I've said it before, that's boring baseball.
That's what's been killing baseball more than the shift or sign stealing. It has been the 3 true outcomes that have.
Yeah, but I don't think using too much stickum on the baseball is what's specifically causing this. Like, it doesn't help that batters are having a tougher time deciphering pitches as pitchers are getting better grips and everything. But I think it makes it better for the pitchers. Or at least it makes it more exciting for the pitchers, because as much as like I like seeing one-handed catches in football or death-defying dives in an outfield for baseball, I like seeing Verlander or Scherzer throwing a pitch and it's just like breaking ridiculously. Like that's the true beauty. That's when you know baseball's going.
Yeah, and I like seeing playing the small ball against the pitcher that's dealing, that can't get a home run off, get a single,
bunt him.
Yeah, get a single, bunt him over, or steal a base, and have him work with the runner on second or third.
Yeah.
Segueing into kind of like the other thing I want to talk about with baseball is we have our answer to what's happening on the Yankees roster. That Luke Voight has a meniscus tear in his knee and will be shut down from baseball activities for the next 3 weeks. He'll be out of action into May, but will be Boone expects him back before June, which means that Jay Bruce is now the starting first baseman for the New York Yankees. Which I'm not sure how I feel about that, but it's what is. When you're it's probably the smoothest thing as opposed to sliding LeMahieu into the position.
It's nice having breaking news. Too bad I'm going to upload this video a day late.
Well.
Classic us.
Get some, you lose some. But that also brings us into the injury report for opening day, which...
Yeah, we've got like Eloy Jimenez, and we talked about Justin Wilson accidentally.
Yeah, let's break down a lot of these. So you mentioned Eloy Jimenez, which is a big blow to the White Sox, and probably one of the, if it wasn't for the fact that the Voight was not healthy, probably would have been where Bruce might have gone to. Jimenez ruptured a pectoral tendon chasing down a Chris, I believe Chris Murphy of the A's, a home run in spring training.
Yeah, you can't be doing that stuff in spring training.
He's out 5 to 6 months, which means if we see him back, it would be for the postseason.
Yeah, Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, Kyle Schwarber. I was thinking, former catcher of the Cubs.
Yeah,
now
I mean,
in
he
the
had a
Nats.
real breakout season last year, hitting .296 with 14 homers. I mean, he had 31 home runs in 2019 with .267 average, which I guess is normal now with the 3 true outcome of baseball, but it looked like he seemed to turn a corner in that shortened season and was going to look to build on a good run the White Sox had before the last week of the season.
Yeah.
But now it looks like maybe the White Sox will have to deal without him, and hopefully maybe he can be a playoff hero.
Notably that this could be how former first round pick Andrew Vaughn gets into the major leagues. That they've said that they are not holding the 2019 third overall pick from the majors on service time reasons alone. And considering they don't have a true DH position, that could be where he gets at bats. And you also remember Josh Reddick, Yoenis Cespedes, and Yasiel Puig are still free agents at the moment. So this could be an opening for them, considering this is going to be a year-long absence. Speaking of year-long absences, the Blue Jays had a 1-2 whammy punch. George Springer has a 1-2-3. The two minor ones are George Springer has a grade 2 oblique strain, and Robbie Ray has a bruised elbow. But the big one is Kirby Yates, who was expected to be their closer, had undergone Tommy John surgery after injuring his elbow. So it's a huge blow for Yates, who was lockdown closer for the Padres in 2018-2019, but went off the rails in 2020 in a big way. And now he'll lose the season. The Blue Jays are now without a solid closer at the moment. They have guys like Jordan Romano, David Phelps, Rafael Dolis, or Tyler Chatwood, but none of them have really been a closer for an extended period. So it leaves them with an uncertain option in the back, which is not something you usually want to have when you know you're contending, and you don't have a plan B.
Yeah, well, sort of, I guess, going with the injury bug and some uncertainty. Chris Davis with a K is now injured for the Texas Rangers. He's one of those guys where I've sort of under the radar been monitoring his career. He's always hit big home runs.
He had that.
Lots of RBIs, but very low average.
He had that 4-year streak where he hit 247 for 4 years in a row. So for a while he was Mr. Consistency.
Yeah. But a 247 average is nothing to brag about, though.
No, his calling card until recently was that he was the big bopper. That he had 20 with the Brewers. He hit 63 home runs over 3 seasons. He then hit 42-43 in a league-leading 48 home runs in 2018. But then 2019 he only hit 220 with 23 home runs, and in the shortened season only 200 with 2 home runs. So the Rangers were counting on him to be their designated hitter, and now without that, they've said that they kind of have a more or less open position with how they're going to do.
He's got a grade 2 left quad strain, missing 3 to 4 weeks, but as we've learned from anything in baseball, quad strain is just something where, he might come back in 3 or 4 weeks, but then in another 10 days he'll wind up back on there. It's just sort of how it works in baseball, which is kind of annoying. So with Chris Davis, I like the power he has. He brings in the RBIs. I don't know how much more of a career he has left. I mean, I think he plateaued really early in his career. He's also 33 already, so I don't know how much more he has left. I mean, if he comes back for this year, and depending on what happens with baseball for next year with the Players Association and whatnot, I don't see him hitting more than 35 home runs again. But I think maybe if he's just staying as a pure DH, maybe he gets into a good hitters-friendly park. Maybe he can put up 30 if he can stay healthy. But I don't see him as a very viable option that I would break the bank on, especially if he's a career 240 hitter.
Yeah. Well, his market will depend on what the next collective bargaining agreement says about the DH. It's widely expected that the DH will be put in the National League in the next...
Which would definitely help him.
Yeah. So in which case, I could maybe see teams like the maybe not the Pirates because they're deep in a rebuild, but maybe the Diamondbacks or those lower end teams that are nearing their
maybe need a veteran presence.
Yeah, and they're near the end of their rebuilding window. That they could do it. It's usually how these 240 hitters work the tail end of careers. they jump from lower team to lower team, getting traded to contenders as warranted.
Yeah.
But yeah, a couple other injury notes. We mentioned Kirby Yates.
Justin Wilson.
Yeah, Justin Wilson is another one that that he joins. He joins what's his face, former Orioles closer now in the Yankees.
Britton.
Yeah, Zach Britton as being the two left-handers for the pitching staff, and both being injured, which is not a great thing, especially after you traded Adam Ottavino to the Red Sox. But the good news is that an MRI on his shoulder has been come back negative. So if he's not ready for opening day, it won't be that long after that he will be ready. So it might be only a short absence, as opposed to Britton, who's out for 3 to 4 months.
Yeah. I guess just to wrap it up before we get going.
Yeah. Well.
One more.
Yeah, I got two more. More on the tragic end. Scott Olberg, who was at the tail end of the Rockies' back end of the bullpen for the last couple of years, but has been dealing with blood clots in his arm since 2018. He underwent surgery to treat the blood clot for the third time in his pitching elbow, and they said this time the procedure could be a career ender, which is a shame for a pitcher who has put together a 2.35 ERA from 2018 to 2019 and was looking to be a solid for a while, the closer of the future for the Rockies. And then tragically today, the Minnesota Twins lost coach, or yesterday, lost bench coach Mike Bell to kidney cancer at the age of 46. Which
you got hit hard with that.
Yeah, which is a sudden and tragic development. He was someone who was considered over the last couple of years for managerial jobs on the East Coast from the Mets, Orioles, Red Sox, and Pirates, among others. So.
Yeah, he just had the surgery in January, and they were very optimistic about how it went, and I guess it just did not turn out well. So, prayers to that family.
Yeah, cancer is a thing, and it's a tragic and unfortunate thing.
What's not unfortunate, I guess depending on.
It's hard to segue from this stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to segue. Depending on your perspective, the Rangers and Flyers decided to play each other a couple times this past week.
How do you decide to play each other?
They just had a tribal council meeting. So last week the Rangers kicked the crap out of the Flyers 9-0, by scoring 7 goals in the second period. Rangers would then lose a heartbreaking 2-1 game to the Capitals, to then rebound to beat Capitals 3-1, beat the lowly Sabres 5-3, and then they played the Flyers again the other night and won 8-3. So not only did Mika Zibanejad for the Rangers score a natural hat trick, 3 goals in a row, actually it was a shorthanded power play and a regular strength goal in the 9-0 win, but he also got another natural hat trick against the Flyers again. At one point in that game they were up 6-0, so between the 9-0 and the 6-0, the Rangers had scored 15 unanswered goals against the Flyers.
Oh, Jesus.
And now they're going to play again today at 1 o'clock, so in a little bit, as soon as we finish talking, they'll play again. At this rate, I just want to play the Flyers the rest of the year.
Yeah, that sounds like you can get pad your stats on that one.
Yeah. I mean, the Rangers are now like a plus 17 on the year in goal differential just because of those 2 games. But it would be higher if they didn't lose so many 1-goal games. But I guess to wrap it up, the big thing at the end, we'll skip NASCAR this week. But we have the Denver Nuggets getting Aaron Gordon Gordon from the Orlando Magic, who seemed to have a bit of a fire sale towards the end of the trade deadline here. So it looks like the Nuggets made a really good move here. He was the big sort of free piece in the NBA trade deadline. So it looks like they got that to help solidify their stuff. The Orlando Magic, like I said, they had like a bit of a fire sale, so I don't know if they really got much out of this. The Heat seemed to make, I think, some trades as well. But of course, my interest is with the Boston Celtics, who made some interesting trades. They got rid of Daniel Tice, Jeff Teague, and somebody else. They basically just like turned their roster upside down. Well, not I guess fully upside down, but it sort of gives them a little bit more flexibility for getting some of these younger guys who I said beginning before the season started here that they had a lot of players that were ready to play on other teams, but they were just so backed up and whatnot that guys like Daniel Tice, who I've really liked over these last like 3.5 years, he's been in Boston. He's been a big man at the center there. But this was his contract year, and it looked like the Celtics were going to be a bit cash strapped, and we're going to let him walk for basically nothing. So they ended up packaging him up for some picks. So I'm not too up to date with who the players are, what their playing ability are, but who they have gotten is sort of injury prone. I'm blanking on the name now, but it's just, I don't know if this was the right move. I mean, they used part of their player trade exception to absorb some of this salary, about like $17 million of it. But I don't know if this is, so I mean, they still have time to keep using more of that once the summer starts. But I don't know if this was the right move. I mean, it seems like it was, as they had their game the other night against Milwaukee, where they had lost by a bunch, and then all of a sudden they ended up winning.
Yeah. I mean, the Celtics were also in on the Vukovic and Gordon sweepstakes right until the end.
I still don't think those would have been the players for them, though. I think they should just go with what they have. They just need to find their rhythm.
Well, the worst thing you can do as a team that's in contention is not to add someone. That you very rarely is not adding to your team the right move.
Yeah. I mean, they needed to do something. It's just more of a talk of, is this a lost season for the Celtics right now? I mean, there's been too many games where they've just been blown out, or they blow a quarter, the third or fourth, and then they lose games they really shouldn't. I mean, we talked at the beginning of the year where they started off strong, but like a lot of their losses, they were just games they shouldn't have lost, where they should have only had maybe like 2 losses through the first 25 games. But they were just losing stupid games in bad ways. They've lost a lot as of late. They're still under 500, but they showed a lot of heart, I think, these last 2 games in Milwaukee. They haven't been too good on the road. They were down by 25 points Wednesday night on the 24th, and they ended up clawing their way back to a 121 to 119 loss. And I don't think anyone scored in the last minute and a half of that game. So there's talks, would Tice still be on the team if he made that shot towards the end of the game to help him tie it and win it? Probably not still, but they ended up then thrashing Milwaukee 122 to 114 last night on Friday. So I don't know if this is just like fluky games, or if they're just finding their rhythm finally and figuring things out. But it's a really, really tight in the standings right now. I mean, you have the Charlotte Hornets with 23 wins, and the Raptors have 18 wins. I mean, it's not
in the Eastern
gonna happen for them to jump up, but like there's a lot of teams that are just within like 4 or 5 games of each other.
Well, you say that right now. The Hornets, the Knicks, the Hawks, the Celtics, the Heat, and the Pacers are all within 2 games of each other, and that's for the fourth spot.
Yeah, that's for the fourth.
The only teams running away in the Eastern Conference are the 76ers, the Nets, and the Bucks. Now the Celtics probably would be up there with them, but they have a 9-16 record away.
Which was very important to get that win against the Bucks last night.
Yeah, because that's as bad. That's the same record the Bulls have, who have a 19-24. It's only marginally worse than the Knicks, who have been even better at home than the Celtics, but are on 9-14. So I think it's just a problem. A lot of these teams are tripping over each other, and which is why you see the Celtics making those moves. That they say, hey, we're still in the game for this. We should at least try for this season.
The Heat are on a 6-game losing streak, it looked like they made a couple moves. And this is the team that went to the finals last year. They know how to play. They know how to work together. Yeah. They're just in a bit of a funk right now. So I don't know if an injury bug is really what's bothering them. Yeah. But I expect them to try and contend. The Celtics to try and contend.
The Hawks have been on an 8-2 tear as of late.
Yeah. So I mean, being 3 games out for all these teams, it's absolutely nothing. As I said, the Heat have lost 6 in a row. The Hawks are on an 8-2 tear. That can flip-flop anyway. I mean, you want to look to the West. You've got the Warriors, who are not specifically in a spot right now, losing 4 games in a row on a 3-7 dip. But they're looking up on a Spurs team, an up-and-coming Mavericks team. They've got the Blazers, who are good, the Nuggets, who are very good. Yeah. The Lakers, who are the Lakers, who are missing some key players right now, have been 5-5. Clippers, the Suns, and of course the Jazz. So I don't know if the Warriors are going to even make the playoffs this year. I mean, they're definitely better than last year, especially with Steph Curry back, but they're still missing some key pieces.
There's too much competition, I think.
There's too much.
There's too much good competition. These teams aren't tripping over themselves like the Eastern Conference. They got their stuff, and more importantly, they have the Timberwolves and the Rockets to beat up. On which is, as said, granted, the Eastern Conference has the Pistons, the Magic, and the Wizards. But as I said, that those teams can't get their act together. The West has, so they're more. It's easier for them to get their wins and then keep them.
Yeah, I still don't know how the Wizards aren't winning enough games. I mean, they've got Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, and they're sitting at 15 wins and 28 losses this year. I mean, this is just
political bureaucracy. It's Washington. What do you expect?
Yeah, it's. I don't know what's going on with that team, but clearly they have no defense.
It's Washington. They spend a lot of money and get no results for it, and everyone hates them. But yeah, I think on that note, I think it's time to end. So, Joe, as always, it's been a pleasure.
Yes, it has.
And we will see you next week for opening day.
April Fools, no we won't.
Yes, we will. See you then.